Just a few months back, I came across an application known as Drawy. The GitHub is archived, and we'll get to why in just a bit. If you've heard of an application known as Excalidraw, it is a very, very similar kind of tool. This is an infinite whiteboard. Basically, we can draw on this, we can then scroll around this space, add some things down here, and basically, it is a space to go and put out your ideas and do various things like that. Personally, I like the idea of these for doing videos and various other things like that, but if you're in university or you are lecturing or for whatever other reason you need a space to have a lot of ideas written down, tools like this are very, very good. This is open source, licensed under an MIT license, but it is a web-based tool, and I typically try to avoid these whenever possible. That is where Drawy is different. Here is the application in question. This is built with C++ and Qt Tech, and I had actually recorded a video on this a couple of months back when I first saw it. For one reason or another, that video actually never got uploaded. Then I was planning to do a video on this, and for one reason or another, that video never got uploaded. So now we are doing a third iteration of the video and talking about what is actually going on. So in the time since I first heard about this, this became a KDE application. Not only is it using Qt, it is also using KDE libraries, and the developer put out this blog post on the matter. This is Drawy, KDE's first infinite whiteboard application written entirely in C++ and Qt. It is inspired by the popular web-based Excalidraw, and a lot of the features are very similar. If you've used Excalidraw, this is going to feel very, very familiar. Its main focus is simplicity, ease of use, and performance. You get all the usual essential features, such as drawing tablet and touchscreen support, basic shapes like rectangles, ellipses, arrows with different arrowheads, lines, etc., text and image support, as well as many other features such as groups, reordering elements, alignment, etc. So let's not waste any more time, and let's have a look at what it can do. I am running it with the dark theme right now. If you're on KDE, it is going to respect the theme you're running, but like Kdenlive, it also has a color scheme selector as well. I do kind of wish that every KDE application had this. It makes my life considerably easier. As I said before, if you used Excalidraw, this is going to feel very, very similar. Along the top here, we have all of our tools, and whilst it might not seem immediately obvious because it's not in the tooltip, it probably should be in the tooltip. All of these do have key bindings attached to them as well. If we go over here and go to the configure keyboard shortcuts, all of those are going to be listed. And of course, can also be configured if you want, with both a shortcut and an alternate. Most of the default bindings, I would say, are pretty straightforward, and you probably don't even have to check them. First up, we have the freeform tool, otherwise known as the pen tool. This is on both P and also B. Either way gets you the same thing. With this, we can just go and draw a line. Let's say, writing out my name with a mouse very badly. Yeah, that works. Now, each of these individual lines, so if we go back and press S, that takes us to the selection tool. Each of these individual lines are considered their own individual object. This is not a drawing application. This is a whiteboard tool. You're not creating art in this. Now, could you do that? Yeah, absolutely. But the focus here is on, productivity and all that good stuff. So we can go and delete individual drawn lines. If I have this one selected, press the delete key. That is now gone. The other option with that to delete it is we select it, and then over here in the actions, we have a trash bin, also does the same thing. Also, we can go and select a group. If we hold down the shift key, click this line here, let's say this one and this one, press the delete key, all of those lines are gone, or we can go and make a group by just dragging it, and once again, it's now gone. On the topic of selection, we also have these resize handles as well. We can resize diagonals, we can resize from a side, neither retain aspect ratio. I believe in an older version it did, but that's not something you can actually go and select now. So I feel like that was probably a bug, but retaining aspect ratio is probably something that should be there. Also, not entirely obvious, but when you're around one of the corners here, there is also a rotate handle as well, and that does exactly what you'd expect. Also, if you ever want to go back to an older state, we can press Control Z, or we can press the undo or redo up the top here as well. Do note that basically every action you do is considered something that can be undone. So right now, even though we undid the rotate, there's no redo, because deselecting an object is counted as an action. That probably shouldn't be done because now we can't actually go and redo back to the state that had the rotate. I don't know why selection is considered something to undo. That, I feel like, is just going to create more problems than it solves. For these selected objects, we also have a number of other things we can do as well. Do note, a lot of these are going to be very similar to what you actually have on the tool. So we can actually go and modify the color we use to initially draw. Let's say we want it to be red, but let's say I want this original line I drew to now be, instead of white, to now be green. We can change it after the fact. Also, there is this custom color selector on the right-hand side, and that works as a custom color selector. You can save your custom colors down here because I believe this is just like a generic cute element. I would like to see being able to have these custom colors integrated with the main UI, because right now this is kind of like this additional extra thing, which does work, but it feels like something external to the main tool. Other things can also be changed, like the line thickness. We can go and increase that. There is a limit of 10. I don't know why it's only 10. Probably should be higher. And we can change the stroke style as well. So right now it's just a solid line. Now it is a dashed line. Now it is an extra dashed line. Also, all of that can be done with the regular pen tool as well. So we can draw a new line that's like this. And any of the other tools in their selection state are going to have the relevant settings for that individual tool. So let's go and get rid of that line. And there are some additional things here as well. We have the ordering. Whilst there is not a obvious layering system in the tool, things that are drawn after other things are placed above them. Naturally, there has to be some sort of ordering done. So right now, the second line we drew, this is above it. Let's say, though, we want this to be the other way around. We can click this tool and then raise it, and now it is above it. That raises it to the top, this raises it a level, this brings it down a level, this brings it down to the bottom. As for the other ones that are grayed out here, these are your grouping tools. These don't work unless you have multiple things selected or you have a group selected. So again, if I go and select both of these, now this one is actually available. We can group them together, and now it is treated as a single object. If at any point we want to go and undo that, there's also an ungroup option as well. When you have a group selected, you also have alignment options as well. So we can align everything to the left, we can align it in the center, we can align it to the right, so on and so forth. I don't really see the point of the alignment options. I'm sure somebody uses them for something though. You know what, maybe it makes sense for text. That's probably the only place it does make sense though. Like Excalidraw, this is also an infinite whiteboard, or I guess in this case an infinite blackboard. If you press the hand, this is the move tool or the M key. We can pan around this space. Do note that you can go really far out and put yourself in a situation where you're probably, I think we're done. Probably never gonna find where you originally start. Oh, here we go. So this actually wasn't a thing before. Now we can zoom out considerably further than was possible. The zooming works with Control minus and Control equals or plus, whichever one is not on the shift layer. So you can just zoom sensibly. Can we go out to 10%? 10% is how far you can go. I don't know why you can't just go to 1%, but it's better than it was. I believe there was a much higher limit in earlier versions. If you want to go and reset, I believe that is Control 0. Yes. One thing I do think might help is the existence of like a mini-map sort of thing, like you have with a lot of code tools, where you can see where things are in this space. It's very zoomed out. Obviously, you wouldn't have it go over the infinite plane, but it expands out to where you actually have things already drawn. If not that, the possibility of either an anchor system where you can teleport to different defined anchors across the whiteboard, or just a teleport back to origin. Something like that would make things just a little bit nicer. Going along the top here, we have a couple of shape tools. First is the rectangle tool on R. This is going to retain the settings you had from the pen if those settings are also relevant to that tool. So in this case, it is going to be the many dash line, and also still green. Let's go and change it to blue this time with a solid line. Also, we do have a background style. So if we want it to be a solid background, we can also change the background color. So green background, or we could have a yellow background. Again, we can have a custom color. We also have the checkered, what is it calling it? It is calling the diagonal cross. We also have the diagonal, just regular diagonal. I think maybe there's a little bit too much of the diagonal there. I'd like to be able to sort of customize the extent, the gap between. I don't know how that's even showing up in the video. I'm looking at my OBS right now. It's doing some funky things in the preview. And the thickness we have here, that is for what is going on with the outside line, not what is happening in the center. I didn't mention this earlier, but there is also an opacity as well. So if you want that to be, let's say, 20%, now we have 20% solid opacity, very thin blue line with yellow in the center. Next is the diamond tool. This is on D. All of these settings we have here are exactly the same. So let's go back to the regular one with no background, and let's keep it blue, and we'll make it a little bit thicker and go back to 100%. There you go. There's a diamond. We also have the ellipsis tool. This is on O, not E, as you might think. E is a separate tool. O, because O's are circle. It makes sense if you think about it for like a couple of seconds. Anyway, this is how you would get your ellipsis. Obviously, you would also get your circle if you make it perfect as well. Works either way. At the end here, we also have this drop down. I don't know why it's being handled like this. These probably should be maybe under like one of these. Maybe have like a generic shape tool and then put that together. But we also have a triangle as well. And we have what it calls... I don't know how to select the other one now. I reloaded the application. It does do autosaves as you are doing stuff. There is also this Xbox. Now, I feel like there is definitely an oversight in how this drop-down functions, because you can't select the other tool there without restarting the application. So, not sure about that. If there is a way to do it, it's certainly not obvious. And again, having this shape thing at the end and then these three separate shape tools, it doesn't really make much sense. It probably could just be merged into one, or if you're not going to do that, get rid of the drop-down and just put them along the top, because you do have plenty of space up here. Next to these ones are the arrow tools. There are two separate tools here. We have the arrow tool. This is on A, as you might expect. This has obviously stroke customization. That is your line color. You have the dotted, you have the solid, and you have your thickness. Also, you can configure the arrowheads as well. So by default, it is going to be nothing on one side, arrowhead on the other. If you want it to be an arrowhead on both sides, we can do exactly that. If you want it to be, let's say, this one on one side and then this one on the other, also totally possible. Next to that is the line tool. That is on L, and you just get a solid line without the arrowheads. Now, technically, this one doesn't actually need to exist. These probably could be merged together, because if we go to the arrow tool and we disable the head on either side, it's now a line. Maybe it's slightly better UX to have a separate dedicated line tool. It's just something that doesn't actually need to be there. Obviously, we can write things out by hand, but that's stupid, and why would we do that? So we have the text tool with the very, very strange text icon. I've never seen one that looks like this. I don't know why you have a representation of space. Either way, pressing T will get you that tool, and we can type various things. You will notice there is no font selector here. You can't select the font. So you get a font which is probably the same font that Excalidraw is using, and that's pretty much what you get. But this is not something where, again, you're trying to like draw things and create fancy documents. It is here to get your ideas out. So It's fine. Font selection would be nice, but it's certainly not a requirement. And something new since the last time I looked at the application is the image import. If I press I, takes us to that, and it looks like it does absolutely nothing. There probably should be some indicator on what you need to do here. What you do is press the thing, and then it brings up your file selector. From here, we can go and select a file, and there we go. Now, do be careful, because if you click again, it's going to reopen the file manager, and you can import another image. What should be done here is it takes you off of the image selector once you've selected it. There's probably a much better way to handle this than what is currently being done, but we can then go and take that image and then resize it and do whatever we want. I guess it's a screenshot from the Whaling-Craft video, and that's a screenshot of the new, very strange looking at Gmail logo. I don't know why they did this. It looks terrible. Either way, you do have image imports, even if it is a little bit funky. As you can see here, you get something which is pretty much a solid approximation of Excalidraw. It does need a little bit of polish still. It's certainly not perfect, but overall, I think this is a really good application, and if you just want the core functionality of Excalidraw, you have everything you want here, but it's not a web application. It's C++, it's cute, it's really fast, and frankly, I think it's a really cool tool. Now let's quickly go over to the blog post once again, because there was a bit more I wanted to check out. Basically, whilst there are other open source whiteboard applications like Excalidraw, the author felt a lot of them had these pen smoothing issues, UX issues, and of course with Excalidraw, performance issues, because, you know, you're in a browser. Notably, there were issues especially in Firefox. When the alpha version was released, Drawy was still a personal project. It gained 800 stars in the first month of its release. However, there was a lot of stuff I had to implement on my own. For example, a config manager, a key binding manager, a theme manager, figuring out I18N, which is the developer way of saying internationalization. It's stupid, I hate it. Anyway, not important here. Distributing packages for different operating systems and architectures, and more. Even with the help of contributors, most of the work had to be handled by me, which would be extremely time-consuming given that I'm still a student. A few people on Reddit and GitHub suggest that due to similar technologies, I should try to make Drawy a part of KDE. KDE has mature infrastructure for distribution and internationalization, and KDE frameworks provide convenient functionalities for most of what I needed, so it was an excellent choice. I had also been a KDE user for a long time, and had several other projects like Consave and KDE Control Center that were built for KDE users, so it felt natural for me to get more involved with KDE. After the incubation of Drawy into KDE, Laurent Montel, who is a senior developer at KDAB and has been with KDE since its very beginning, began contributing to Drawy. He has made a large number of contributions to Drawy, and I've learned a lot from him. Drawy would not be what it is right now without his contributions. His contributions include adding the ability to customize keyboard shortcuts, aligning items, implementing a plugin system, adding a color scheme menu, adding infrastructure to configure Drawy, and more. Another contributor who is very much involved with the development is Nikolay Kochilin. Probably butchered your name. He has contributed many features with excellent code quality, such as exporting to images, drag and drop functionality, a My Manager, and support for stylus erasers. His contributions have been valuable as well. There have also been many other contributors who've helped Drawy improve in different ways. I think it was a really good decision for Drawy to become part of KDE, because I could not have done it alone. Overall, I think Drawy is a really cool project. I hope it keeps getting more and more attention, and I don't know, maybe you'll see it show up in videos from time to time, depending on what I need. So, let me know. Have you played around with Drawy? Now that you know about it, are you going to? And let me know your thoughts. What do you think about it? Is there anything you'd like to see change? I would love to know. So, if you liked the video, go and like the video. If you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Daily Bearer Pay, link in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and draw this.
Something What is